he'll tell you it's an act of kindness. It's something that he wants to do, and it really kind of takes some people aback because I think some people think maybe we're trying to sell them because he will stop people in Target or Sprouts or Sam's and want to give them a bracelet, and they're like, "Oh, great," It was like, "Oh no,
I already bought Girl Scout cookies."
Yeah,
so
right, exactly. It's like, no, he just wants to give you a bracelet. He just wants to be kind. So.
Indeed, Fletcher is one of the most kind-hearted personalities I have ever met. And all he really wants is to share kindness with others because kindness changes everything. I'm Seth Carnell, and this is the Go Shout Love podcast. This is part 2 of our conversation with Craig and Denise, the parents to Fletcher. And if you aren't familiar with him yet, Fletcher is a funny and kind 15-year-old living in Oklahoma who has epidermal nevus syndrome. He is a true people person and loves talking to anyone and everyone. I would recommend, if you haven't listened to it yet, listen to part 1 of this conversation. It provides a lot of context for what you will hear in this episode. Today, we talk about acceptance and kindness. 2 words that express everything Fletcher gives out, but not always what is received. The social media experience for quite a few of our families is full of support and love and community. Sadly, this isn't always the case, as Craig and Denise discovered by simply posting about Fletcher achieving a milestone. Trolls, social media trolls, are real. They hurt, and they exist even in a place like a Facebook page for Fletcher. We also talk about how Fletcher began to make bead bracelets and his mission for those. Leading the conversation is Josh Veach, one of our co-directors of Go Shout Love. With him is Jessica Santo, our community relations director and talented photographer. As I mentioned in the last episode, you will hear quite a bit of background noise. This is Fletcher's ventilator, but not only that, you will hear Fletcher and his sister Maddie bottle flipping and laughing with one another. Occasionally, also, Fletcher has some input to what his parents are saying. His perfectly timed input and personality made meeting this family a wonderfully memorable experience. Please take a second to rate and review or share this podcast with a friend. Let's shout love for Fletcher and his family by hearing their story. Here is Josh.
One of the things that you talked about just a second ago was the transition to the school and the fear over how he would be treated and accepted. Talk us through that. And you even talked about how it was nice to know that really what they cared about is his size and understanding that piece of it. How has that experience and other experiences, what has that taught you about people and about life? And then how has sharing his story with others helped foster acceptance in the world?
Well, I knew early on that probably exposure was going to be the key to acceptance for Fletcher. And people were going to have to get to know him to see that he's really a regular kid. He likes people and he wants to go and do and play Legos and all that. So I did not hesitate to post about him or share about him, and I think that has helped people because it's educated them. But there are also really awful, ugly people in the world too. So we had, when we first came home, because people had started kind of following me because he was going home, because it was a news story here where the Channel 9 News came to our home when we brought it. I mean, it was kind of a big deal. So people kind of started following me, and I was like, yeah, sure. And then someone talked me into, he should make a Facebook page for him. So we had one called Fletcher's Fans, and that got really ugly pretty quickly.
Well, I remember you telling me on our phone conversation that you had posted a certain photo of him and you just watched the
ticker just go.
The
likes or shares.
Yeah. And you just kept seeing it being shared and shared and shared. And
yeah.
That was that a fear.
Yeah.
That
I mean, it made
you?
my heart stop. And I told Craig, I don't know what to make it stop. And so.
You mean just because of the quantity, the reach of the
because
content?
people had seen this photo and he had
rolled over and was lifting up, and so that was a huge deal. And so
a milestone in your life. Yeah,
smile on his face, and so I shared that, and it was like, oh, what's happening? And Craig, being Mr. IT guy, he went and found it, and people had been.
Well,
it was bad.
It made it to Reddit and into a not nice place,
right?
And people were saying some bad things about it. So
caption this, calling him names, and
there were some really ugly comments that I won't repeat, but so we had to take that down.
Yeah, and it's just like
now, when you say take it down, do you mean the photo or do you mean the page?
The whole page.
Yeah, like an instant.
Yeah.
Mama protector mode.
Yeah. And you had people that, and were like, Denise, you're letting them win. I went, they can win.
Yeah. You don't need it.
They absolutely won. You know, I cannot do it. I cannot, my heart can't take it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
you can't sit there and delete trolls and toughen your skin to appease others. Yeah.
And yet here we are.
Right.
With the opportunity to share your story.
Right.
And so I'm curious, what has changed either in your situation or in you or in society that makes you feel like now's the time that we can share Fletcher's story? And, you know, we do our best to be advocates and to be protectors of every story that we're entrusted with.
Right.
And I do think that in some ways, and I think this is a positive in that in some ways our culture has shifted in positive ways to which there's enough self-correcting of the trolls, at least in the public forum. You're still going to find the black holes of Reddit that's just where those people hang out. But on the mainstream social media platforms, if somebody is just there to be cruel, the rest of the crowd's going to tell that troll where to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm curious, what, as you look back on your journey and find yourself sitting here now, he's 15, what is different for Craig and Denise now in sharing your journey than maybe it was at that time?
Well, it's still a little scary to me. And I think probably my conversation with Jessica telling me that you guys would help keep an eye on it and kind of monitor it. So that kind of gave me some assurance. But I also think lately, as we've kind of still, I don't know. I do think people are a little different, or maybe I just haven't seen as much negative. Most things that I see, and I still get nervous if people share his stuff. It still makes me, without my permission, it still makes me a little nervous, but we can't control that. And like I said earlier, exposure is the key to acceptance for him. And if people will just see that he loves music, he loves Legos, he loves people, I think if we can use that as an education tool and, I don't know. What do you think? Are you even comfortable with it? The things I drag Craig into sometimes is a bit much for him.
Yeah, I'm a little worried also, like everything though, but you can't really control it. And even those pictures on Reddit that we had taken down, who knows if they're out there still. And I guess you can't do anything about that. If someone's gonna make fun of it or whatever, that's their problem. As long as I don't have to know about it.
Right.
I'm not okay with it, but it doesn't affect me. And I think that probably a whole lot more people get something positive out of it than the people that are just bashing on people like that. So
yeah, absolutely.
So
we would have people come on his little page. People would come to his rescue, but that kind of made it worse sometimes. You know what I mean? People just going,
because that's what they want. That's what they look for.
I didn't even take that comment that way. And then someone else saw something. I was like, going, oh, did they?
Now all of a sudden your page has become this battleground.
Yeah. And who wants that?
Right.
You know? I mean, people wanted to know about his progress and how he was doing at home, and that was my goal.
Sure.
To, like, he's great and to be encouraging. So,
well, let's talk about something that we know Fletcher loves, and that's bracelets.
Yes.
These
and we're all wearing
bracelets.
them right now.
Yes.
How did this come to be? So what they are, if you don't know, they're pipe cleaners with, what do you call these? Certain beads? They're
pony beads.
Pony beads. They're very colorful and they're amazing. And Fletcher loves to make them. We were here, 30 minutes, and we were all making them together in his bed. It's awesome. So tell us how that came to be, how he found a love for making these bracelets and what he wants to promote with these.
Okay. So I guess that was 2019, January 2019. We had a OT therapy session, and Fletcher and he and his OT made these bracelets as a pipe cleaner and pony beads. And I thought we could do that at home. So we ran to Hobby Lobby because we love stops, and we got some beads, a container of beads, and a package of pipe cleaners. And he started making them, and then he just never stopped. Then people wanted to buy him beads. So like my sister would buy him some beads, or, an aunt or whoever. Well, since the end of 2017, Fletcher's been hospitalized 7 times. So we've been in the hospital a lot, and he used to only play with just Legos. So we would take Legos to the hospital. So I brought the beads. It was like we were in the emergency room, and he was passing out bracelets to the nurses, the doctors, and they're putting them on their badges. So then we started making, when we end up in the hospital these last times, it's been GI issues. So he's not just always just laying in the bed. We're spending a lot of time there because we're trying to get him to tolerate his feed. So he's not always just sick as a dog. He needs something to do to pass the time. And like we've been saying this whole time, is he loves people. And in his hospital room, he never wants the door shut. He wants the door open. And so he started making bracelets. And, so many bracelets.
So many beads.
So many beads. So then it got to where I made a wish list on Amazon. And I would just say, Fletcher needs beads and pipe cleaners on my Facebook page. And they would come by the thousands. And so he would pass them out to the janitors, to the nurses, RTs, doctors. Everyone had them. He wanted to know if everyone had one, and he'd want to know, do you know anybody that needs a bracelet? So they would just all come to Fletcher's room, and then it got to where the nurses would make bracelets with him at night. And so it just kind of became this thing. And now if you go to Children's Hospital, you see those bracelets on probably every badge, because that's where they would put them, because they wash their hands so much and it could get yucky if not. And so one day, the nurses are going, Denise, what are you guys going to do with all of these bracelets? I'm going, I don't know. And then Craig had a doctor come in while he was there, and she asked if she could take some on a medical mission. And Craig was like, sure, how many do you want? He says, is 300 too many? And it's like, absolutely not.
You said 3,000, you said? You want to get like 3,000?
So we started, people started finding out about that, so they would do like VBS.
Yeah.
Or, so they'd been to Uganda, Cambodia, Guatemala, Honduras, Peru, Israel,
wow,
Tulsa, and then all over the United States. People started requesting them, like people that I know, and so I would mail them and to them. So it's kind of a big deal to have a Fletcher bracelet, unless you live in this house, then you have 1,000 Fletcher bracelets.
Yeah, and we asked you earlier, and you said around approximately 10,000 bracelets he's made.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And each bracelet has 25 beads on it.
Very specific.
There's a certain way to twist the ends.
Yes.
We learned that.
And he will
very
pass
proud.
them, it's not just a big group. So
and he does them in patterns. And then what do you call it if it's random?
Willy-nilly.
Willy-nilly bracelet.
Or random.
Or random.
Random was his new word.
Yeah.
Random is new.
Craig, as dad, you've watched Fletcher fight so hard for the most basic, for breath, since he was born. You've seen him fight this battle with courage. And now he's got this project of these bracelets. I'm just curious what that does to you as a dad, to see him find this passion, a passion that he's thriving in, and a passion that is not only is impacting him, but has, like Denise, you just said, has reached corners of the earth, that he's impacting people. And I'm just curious, as a dad, how does that feel?
Well, it feels pretty cool because, I mean, with him, I mean, it's like, I don't even know if he realizes there's something going on with him. I mean, he doesn't complain. He's always happy. Or, I mean, he within. I mean, sometimes when he's sick,
Sure.
obviously he's not, but he's almost always happy.
Mm-hmm.
Always wants to talk to people, and I think this is just his way of doing that. It's something that gets him interacting with people. I mean, and the whole, and it's also a little bit of an obsessive compulsive. I think all of our families a little bit like that. but to be able to let him, and it works his dexterity, and he thinks when he's doing patterns, and it's just all around helps him, but also with that and being able to give them to people, and so. I mean, it's just really neat to see how all that goes together with him just being a fighter and doing this and getting out there with people.
Well, and this really is his mission with it, I think, because if people will try to pay him, it's pretty offensive to him. He'll frown at them, like it's like, well, how much do they cost? And I'm like, well, they don't cost anything. So because people have literally sent the beads. That day I bought those at Hobby Lobby, I never bought beads again. So other people are supplying the beads and the pipe cleaners. And so to me, it's just, he'll tell you it's an act of kindness. It's something that he wants to do. And it really kind of takes some people aback, because I think some people think maybe we're trying to sell them, because he will stop people in Target or Sprouts or Sam's and want to give them a bracelet, and they're like, "Oh, great!" It's like, "Oh no,
I already bought Girl Scout cookies."
Yeah, right, exactly. He's like, "No, he just wants to give you a bracelet. He just wants to be kind." So I don't think he knows he's different. To be honest with you, I really don't think he knows.
And it brings him a lot of joy.
Yeah. Oh, definitely lots of joy.
And what about you guys in this kind of season and life of kind of survival mode, as a lot of our Ghost Out Love parents describe it? What do you guys do that brings you guys joy in this journey? I see a lot of letterboards and quotes.
Yeah, that little letterboard brings me lots of joy. I think it's funny. It has its own Instagram page.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it does. It has its own Instagram page.
Oh, that's funny.
And so that's kind of something fun for me. We had a time when going to the gym and taking really good care of ourselves was a thing, but the last 2 years have been pretty rough with Fletcher, so we're trying to get back to moving every day. And
quarantine hasn't made that easy, has it?
But it has not. It has not. So
you guys like to go on walks in your neighborhood?
Yep.
And he has a neighbor down the street you said he likes to go and talk to.
Yeah, every night we have to go down to see our neighbor. He's not always out, but Fletcher wants to go see him every night.
Yeah.
And we also take walks around, some long walks too, depending on how hot it is outside.
Yeah.
We'll take him in his wheelchair to do those.
Yeah.
But he enjoys he enjoys going somewhere that he's not at the current time.
Yeah.
Make a stop somewhere, or go somewhere, just do something.
Right.
Living a little adventure.
He likes to move, be on the move, to make plans, and to
Yeah, he definitely likes to make plans.
He's the supervisor. We learned that as we were making bracelets. He wanted to make sure that we were understanding the process.
Every morning when he wakes up, he as he's still laying down, he goes, Mom, here's the deal. And he tells me what we're going to do that day. And he has this uncanny ability to know what day it is. I don't even know what day it is, but he's always right.
Oh, wow.
He'll say, today is Wednesday. I'm like, it is? Okay. And then he'll know if that's a therapy day or so. He's a mess, that one. A mess.
A lot of parents, when we talk to them in these conversations, they've learned things that through their journey with their kids that they otherwise maybe weren't ever aware of. And so one of the things that you've talked about, I think ahead of time, was even vans that have that need wheelchair accessibility and parking spaces and handicap parking spaces. And so for those who are listening, because for some, this is an opportunity to learn.
And
this is her mission.
Craig's ready. Craig is ready for this one. What would you like to share on that topic?
Are you asking me?
Yep, absolutely. You seem ready, so I'm asking you.
They're laughing at me because I am pretty confrontational about handicap parking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's to a point where it embarrasses them. So it's probably not.
For one thing, it's something that we weren't aware of beforehand.
Right.
But there is a reason for handicap areas, handicap parking spots, and those little lines with those cross lines in them. Those are for ramps on vans.
Mm-hmm.
And so if there's an option and you're in a car to not park in one of those, you should take that and let the vans park in the ones so the ramp can come down and you can get out of the van easily.
Mm-hmm.
Or don't park in those lines either.
There's a reason for those lines.
Motorcycles like to park there.
There's a reason those lines are not just decorative for a special, just because it's a more fun place to park.
Right.
It means you're not supposed to park there.
I can tell with the passion in your eyes that I will never look at those lines the same ever again.
And you know what? I learned that is something that I learned through these conversations, because I
was unaware of that.
am a structure person. I like rules. It drives me crazy when we go to Walmart and there's somebody who's dropped their spouse off to go in and they're just chilling in the fire lane. I'm like, is it really that big a deal just to pull around to a parking spot? Like, that's a pet peeve of mine. And I've never even been in a place where it's become a major inconvenience or completely disrupted our day because we couldn't.
You can't get your kid in or out of
exactly.
the car.
I can only imagine the passion that I would also have having been in your shoes.
I think Maddie has a story.
Well, I was just saying that's the thing is that they, no matter when it is, if you can't get them in or out, they will just tell you, well, I'll be back in just a second. It'll take me just a second to get in.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like, they tell you that. Like,
and you're supposed to wait?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
That happened to us recently. Fletcher and I were at Target, and there's a little store next to it, and she pulled right up into the lines because in this particular spot, it's a pretty big space, but the lines were like big enough for her car, so she parked there. I went, oh wait! I said that's not a parking space, and she looked and she said, oh honey, I'll be right back. And I said, no, my kid is in the car. I can't get my ramp down if your car is in that space. And she said, I said I'll be right back, honey, and then she went in. I was like, okay, so I guess we wait for her to come out.
What did you do?
Craig, were there slash tires in this story? What happened?
I wouldn't do that.
No.
Were you with her?
No.
No, I wasn't.
No.
So did you wait?
No, we left.
Oh, okay.
We just left. So we had ones where a lady with Target, the exact same spot, and a lady parked there. So I went in. It was really cold. So Fletcher and I went back in, and I asked them, I had the tag number, could they tell the person to come out? And they go, we can, but I don't know if they will, because if they're not listening, And so the lady didn't come, and so someone that knew Fletcher, one of the random people, I don't know who they were, they called the police, because they saw us out there, and they knew what was going on.
Right.
And it was cold, and so she comes out with her basket, and the police are there, and she goes, oh my gosh, what's happening? And so the police officer just kind of let into her and said, what about those lines? Tells you that's a parking space. She goes, my car fits. And she just kept going on and on. I was like, well, lady, take your ticket and go. Because then she kept telling me that she knew what it was like to be handicapped because she had had surgery before. And I was like,
my goodness.
just take your ticket.
You're really
and
not getting it.
move.
Right.
Just move so I can put my kid in the car. That's all I want from you is to move, So that happens a lot.
So if you're listening and you see
Yes.
what you think is a decorative side space to a handicapped space, it's not just decorative. It's very functional. It's very intentional.
Right.
And if you park in it, Denise will find you.
And I'll ask you to move.
And she will gently, yet firmly,
Yes.
with authority, say, do not park there.
Yeah.
Take your ticket and move on.
Yes, please. I'm begging you. Yeah.
I will.
So yeah, that's kind of a sore spot for me.
Yeah.
Well, it would be so frustrating. It would be so frustrating. It's something that you have that to help take care of you guys. And
Well, it's not even, a lot of people go, well, I have a handicap placard. Perfect. Park there if you have a handicap placard. I mean, really, that's what it's for. And there are invisible illnesses. I completely understand that.
Sure.
I am not talking about anyone that has a placard. I am not. And you can park in the van space. I'll just figure somewhere else to park. You know what I mean? Because it could be the last person.
But it comes down to the person who, out of convenience and selfishness, just thinks, I'll only be a minute. I'll only be a minute. So I'll put my needs, what I think is important. I'll put my convenience in front of the necessities of other people.
Right.
And it really just comes down to being a good human.
Right.
Like, don't.
Common courtesy.
Yeah. Be courteous.
Yeah.
As I mentioned before, Fletcher is one of the oldest kids that we've been able to feature on Go Shout Love. And so with that, you guys you're at a different place in your journey as parents of a child on a rare medical journey than a lot of the parents that we've talked to. And so I'm curious, with that journey, what kind of wisdom have you gained from that journey? Are there parts of the journey that have become easier through that season? Are there parts of that journey that have become more difficult?
As far as easier, I would say just routine. I mean, if things, when we first brought him home, I mean, everything was scary. Everything was a big deal. What would happen if his trach came out? Well, that was something scary, and now she can change it in Sprouts parking lot, So just for one, I mean, the more you do things, the easier they get.
That comes with just experience.
Yeah.
We're living it and we're doing it, and it's like you said, it's part of our routine, and it's what we do every day, So I don't know as much as advice, but I don't know.
we always like to ask this question, and we always say if there's a family out there who's on day one of getting a rare medical diagnosis, and they're scared and they are lost and they don't know where to go or what to think or what to do, what would you tell that family or that mom or that dad today?
Well, for me, what gets me through like the really, really scary times, I kind of have a mantra I tell myself just over and over again. And I always say, be in today and trust into Jesus, and I say that with all three of my children, to just be in today. If you look too far ahead, it's too much.
It is, yeah.
I mean, and 15 years in, it's still too much to look far ahead, but the Lord knows, I mean, the Bible tells us that the Lord knew about Fletcher before the foundation of the earth. So he knew the complications he would have. He knows the number of his days, and he knew who his parents would be. And I mean, your faith has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
What about you?
For me, it does.
What about you, Craig, for a dad?
Well, I mean, I just take it one day at a time. That's for me. When he was born and they were talking about things, I mean, I said, well, there's obviously something not right. We'll deal with it as it goes, and it's not easy all the time, but it's just one of those things that you just take it as it comes, and you do what you need to do in order to whatever the situation is.
Right.
And move on. I try not to think, like she said, I try not to think too far down the road, because sometimes it's where that can lead is kind of scary. But, you know, sometimes the things that we think are going to happen don't. And like when we were thinking about him, you know, not making it out of the hospital at one time, and now look where he is now. Yeah. So I mean, that doesn't always happen, but it can. And there's no use in trying to figure something out that you don't know is going to happen. Right. So for me, just one day at a time, just try to just deal with what you got right in front of you.
Yeah.
And, you know, whatever that might be, and trust God.
Yeah. Denise, what did you say that your quote, your
be in today and trust him to Jesus.
That's good.
I like that.
It, you know, for a lot of the families we talk with, they reference, and families have differing responses to when they're told this, but a thing that they share is that a lot of people that they know, and meaning well, will say things like, I don't know how you guys do it, or, you know, those sort of statements. And I think for people of faith, there's a certain element of that God gives us the grace that we need for the day that we need it. Mm-hmm. And you, like you said, you're just in today. You can't take care of, you can't worry about tomorrow because today has enough worries of its own. And I think, the way that you guys have faced this journey and have, raised a son that's thriving is powerful, I think. And I know that those who get to meet him and get that exposure that you were talking about, will definitely be better for it.
Absolutely.
They're gonna grow, and they're gonna learn, and they're gonna be excited to have a new friend. Fletcher,
I am.
Fletcher may not ever be able to meet them face to face,
Right.
but they will be a friend of Fletcher, and hopefully they're gonna also get a bracelet too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's all that we have. Do you have anything else?
It's been a great day, and I'm excited that we've got to meet him. And I think you're so right about exposure with him. And I remember you saying that on the phone, that you need to meet him to know him, and you are absolutely 100% truth in that.
He's a pretty cool kid.
Yeah, he is. He's fun.
He's fun. And
Maybe a little ornery.
nope.
He didn't miss a beat. He said nope.
Are you on?
Thanks for listening. Like I said before, please share with a friend or family member who you think might be blessed by listening to this podcast, and especially this episode. We tell these stories for families because they deserve to be told, but we also help tell them because they are relatable. Even if you aren't going through something similar, you can understand inclusion, acceptance, challenges, and victories. If you would like to shout love for Fletcher this month, go to our website, goshout.love, and shop around. Every item sold in July will be used to help cover the cost of maintenance and repair of the family's handicap accessible van. Of course, included with every order is a bead bracelet, handmade by Fletcher, one of approximately 10,000 he has made as acts of kindness he is sharing with the world. Everyone should have their own Fletcher bracelet. I said it last week, but I'll say it again. Kindness is the word of the month. So for Fletcher's sake, let us be persistent in our kindness. As your shirts say, it changes everything. So wear your shirt, share some kindness, and go shout love. Thanks.